And it is another Tech Tuesday flying into your inbox today for another wonderful tool called Remind. It used to be called Remind 101, but now it's just called Remind. And it's a great way for you to stay connected with students, with parents, even create a professional learning network via this app, which allows you to create emails or text messages and stay connected. So let's dive right in. And here's what we need to look at and try and get accomplished in the session today. Show you how to create an account and stay connected with those students, parents, or guardians. Really can use Remind as a more efficient workaround, in our case, workaround for parents instead of Google Classroom. Google Classroom is a great piece that allows parents to stay connected, but you don't necessarily control as much of the content that goes out to parents. At least with Remind 101, with Remind, you can do that. And then also kind of develop a communication plan for students or parents that encourages those positive curricular connections. How are we going to use this tool, and how are we going to connect parents and our students to the content that's going on in our classrooms to develop those positive relationships? Before we dive into that, here's some ideas. These are ways that Remind publishes as a way for us to think about connecting the content. If you want to schedule and send reminders about meeting time, practice locations, class activities, that's great for that. You can attach documents and send those things out to parents and students directly. Take a photo of what's happening in your class and send them out to your students or parents. You got that important graph that you drew on the board or data set you drew on the board? Snap a pic of that and send it directly to the students on their devices. Schedule ahead reminders or announcements that will go out at a particular time. You can set that up for the whole week and then you're done. Or send students trivia or warm-up questions. You can send links to outside resources. Send those affirmations or encouragements, daily homework assignments that need to be completed. Colleagues that have created these have sent professional development tips and resources. You can send parents topics, a list of topics of what's going on in class. There's just so many things that you can use in order to keep communication on the devices and meet students and parents where they're at. We're going to dive right in and show you what those accounts can look like. Let's see what they look like in creating those accounts and creating those classrooms. Let's dive right in. You are in the Remind website. Let's take a look at kind of how you walk through this. So you've created this account. I suggest you use your Shawnee Mission account. You let them know that you are a teacher. You create your class name. We're going to call that professional development. It says you're going to be talking to kids that are older than 13. Great. And when you now see, it will suggest some schools based on your email address. And you can then see that there's already folks at Shawnee Mission East that are doing this. But select your school, and then it creates that account for you. This is a really key and important part of the website and the process. There are different ways to add people. You can upload a group of people by a spreadsheet that's copy and paste already. That might have a whole bunch of information that's already in there that you've downloaded from Skyward. You can put that all the way in there yourself. You can hand type those. There are PDFs that you can print out that you can give to students and email to parents as a way to simply use the cell phone instructions. It's got your class your class name already populated and your code already on there. This is what I suggest for students that are in front of you as a class. They can get on their phone and text their name directly and their information directly to you in that join account. If you were looking at this, they would text to a particular number the code that is your classroom code or your Remind code, and then they're automatically joined into that text delivery system. Or you can share a link. Maybe put this on your Google Classroom This is a way to send it out to parents as well to join in. But there's a lot of different ways that you can actually then join and create a populated list for your classes. I've set up one class. You might set up classes by section or by hour. But these are different ways that you then can have students connect with your information. Up our classes, and now we're going to send a message. And when you send a message, you can send it directly to individual folks that are in your list. But if you're going to send everybody an announcement, you're on this class portal, you've clicked messages, you've got your list of people that are a part of this. You're going to send this message to everybody, you can use that text, or that's the welcome message, or you can create your own message that's going to look and sound something like this. Message, you can actually attach a study guide directly to that, or a resource that you want to send out. If it's a parent, and they get a text message or email, however they've set it up within their system, they'll get that attachment as well. Students will get it. Whoever's on your account is going to get this information. If it's on the app, they'll get the link through the app. If it's through the web or email, they'll get it through an attached email or attachment to an email. Text, they'll be able to click that link to get that information. But it's a great way for us to be in constant but easy and direct contact with our students and families, and really meet them where they are. They use their devices anyways, so let's meet them where they are in terms of managing what we need to manage to ensure student success in our classes. You are inside of your Remind account and you click on the class name itself. You're going to get some information that you can adapt or change. So if you want to create a custom code for your class, it just uses sort of your initials and your name to create that code generically for you. But if you want to create something that is a little bit more specific, you can see if it's available. Maybe you want to create biology 1. Well, that's not going to be available because somebody's already using that. So you can create some sort of code that's less than 10 characters or less. Maybe it's your first hour biology class, so you call it SME Bio 1, and you then can save that and create that. But you can play around and figure out what kind of code you want to use. Maybe it's something consistent that you use in your class. It's consistent with a hashtag use. I don't know. But it gives you an opportunity to then create a personalized code for that particular class, maybe by hour. Here's a very kind of important part too. The people in this class can see and message each other. If you just want this to be a direct communication between you and the parents, you and the students, I would suggest toggling that off. If you want students to be able to kind of message each other on the Remind platform, then you would leave that on. But I often suggest using this as a tool to create that direct communication. You don't need to create a portal for them to message each other. You can also add owners. So if you want to add another team teacher onto the account as an owner, you can do that. That's really simple and straightforward. But those things automatically saved, and so you can create those particular pieces along the way. Now, what we need to look at then is kind of a workflow of what this might look like in terms of using this in your class. Now that you've created an account, sent a message, updated those profiles that you needed to, we're going to see how this can work for us as a communication tool with parents and students. Now that we've taken a look at how to create messages, creating that account, attaching information to those messages that are going to go out, I want to talk a little bit about what a sample workflow might look like in your classroom and then with parents. Right, so if we can wrap our minds around the different ways that we can more directly communicate with parents and students and stay connected beyond the point that they walk out of our classroom, we can begin thinking of those tools and ways that we can connect. So if you're a teacher and you've got that wonderful piece of instruction that's on the board or that table or those pieces that you want to share with your students, taking a picture of those notes or the whiteboard, or sending a reminder about an assignment. Maybe it's a review document that you've referenced in class, a reminder for the next class meeting. All of those things can very easily go through the Remind app or the web, and you can send those out to all of your participants. I talk about Remind as a way to connect because emails get lost, emails don't get read, notifications in Skyward or other SIS platforms don't get paid attention to or missed, and then it's too late. We live on our cell phones, and we can meet students where they are and use those devices for good and ways to connect with the information that we're trying to get to them in our classes. So if we use Remind, it sends that text message or to the app on their phone or to email. If they're using the email, it really is a one-stop shop. That's the beauty of Remind. It can go to text messages, it can go to the app, or it can go to email, or it can go to all three. You're going to catch information and send it out to students much more effectively if we can broadcast it through all those different portals. Now, if you're a parent, if you're working with this with parents, maybe you're creating due dates for the upcoming week. While you can do the parent thing in Google Classroom, you're in control of this information. So you create due dates for the upcoming week. You can send a week in review to parents. Newsletters are great, but if you send it out just as a blast email through School Messenger, it's going to get lost. Or Skyward, it might not get read. But sending it to, again, where the parents are, and that's on their phones, and that's connecting in that way, can help you use those resources to make those connections. Maybe you send a link to the study guide or the online resources or documents from class to keep parents connected. Maybe it's a big project, and email's going to be out there, but you want to also connect with them in this way. You can do this all, again, through Remind. This is not to say that the powerful tools that we have access to in Google Classroom should be forgotten. Absolutely not. This can be in addition to. There is parent access that people can activate within Google Classroom. It's a little bit cumbersome, or a lot bit cumbersome, depending on your level of comfort. But Google Classroom does have parent access. It allows an automatically generated Google email to be sent to the parent or the guardian. But again, it's one more parent email or one more system-generated email that might get skipped over or missed. Whereas with Remind, you're the one in control of the content. You're controlling who gets it, how it gets delivered, and getting it to those devices that have been selected by the parents. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a sense of the difference between Google Classroom and Remind and how we can use that. I really hope that this has been an informative session for you and allowed you to create an account to connect with students, parents, and guardians. There is hopefully a more efficient workaround for connecting with parents instead of using Google Classroom, but also really hopefully it helps you think about ways that you can plan communication for students, parents, and guardians that really encourages those positive curricular connections. And that's all I got today. We'll see you next Tuesday.